Hey everybody, been a long time. Hope you guys are all doing well. Uh, Dave Moore, Darlene, all you other folks. I wish I was there with you, but I couldn't quite make it up there. But so I wanted to talk a little bit about my time at the Gold Hill News and what that meant for me in my life. When I moved to Dayton in 1973, the end of 1973, I had basically all my worldly possessions in the back seat of my Carmen Ghia, and it just kind of limped into town and died. And I just kind of came there to try to recover and heal up from all my travails in California. But my brother Barry kind of took me in, and he set me up in this little line shack out on a ranch east of Dayton, with broken windows and no heat, no water. But it was a place you could close the door and kind of sit quietly and weather the storm. But anyway, I healed up after a while, going down to Bonnie's Gold Canyon Cafe and, living, getting by, healing up and feeling better. I'd always liked writing. I had never had any formal education, but I had written a lot of poems and songs, and I was always fascinated by the written word. And I got with Lila Lindsay. She was Lila Wicker at the time. And I was living at her house, and she said these guys are starting this newspaper up in Gold Hill. And if I wanted to write, I should probably get in touch with them. I was pretty shy, so I wrote this thing real quick on a hungover morning in Dayton, and I had Lila take it up, and she gave it, I guess, to Dave Toll, who I didn't know, and she came back and said he liked it and he wanted to meet me, and so I said okay. So I went on up to Dave's house at the famous Jones Mansion, and I walked in, and Dave said, I really liked what you wrote. And I said, great. And he said, and I'm hiring you as the Dayton Valley Bureau Chief. And I was like, okay, what's that? And he said, well, you cover the stuff down there, and we're going to do it every couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. So I said to David, well, do I get a press pass or something like that? And he said, oh, yeah. And he takes a business card and he turns it over and he writes this on the back of it. He says, there you go. You can just show that whenever you go to cover something and they ask for a press pass in Dayton. And I said, oh, okay. So this was the first edition of the Gold Hill News that came out in June 3rd, 1974. And I have this because in the last year before he passed away, Dave went ahead and put together an entire set of Gold Hill Newses for me. And I have the whole box, and I just cracked it open. Been a while. But I'm going to go ahead and the thing that I wrote for the first edition is in here on page 2 on the letters page. And I'm going to read it to you. It's pretty short. So here you go. Editor, the coming of spring is a remarkable thing here on the Comstock. The people here really blossom when the sun shines. I'd heard rumor of the spring shuffle around here, but I had no idea what it meant. People started falling in and out of love as if love were a revolving door. Spring fever is at an all-time high. Love is so thick in the air that you can smell it, taste it, and almost chew it. The chickens settled down to some serious laying, as do most of the people. As spring wanes, the pace begins to slow down a bit. People settle in with their latest loves and take things in hand. Earth is tilled and gardens spring up out of the sagebrush. Flowers bloom. Gin and tonics are ordered in the bars. Clothes are cast aside and forgotten. White skin turns brown, dipped in chocolate sunshine. Softball horseshoes or just laying in the sun becomes the local pastime. The pace of living may slow down around here, but I assure you it is never dull. So that was my introduction to the journalism and the Gold Hill News. I'm going to pause right there. So I'm winging it here, and this is kind of just off the top of my head as I go back through things. But when I started with the Gold Hill News, when we first started, we had this amazing cast of characters working on the publication. And that included Buckeye Blake as the graphic designer, the well-known cowboy artist, and Chan Laughlin was the marketing executive, also known as Travis T. Hip. And Peter Lawfer was the editor. And as I understand it, Peter and Sheila might be there. Hey, guys. And then I rode down to Reno with Dave Toll, and we picked up Dave Moore somewhere. He was, I think he was a copy editor at the Reno Gazette-Journal or something like that, but he can tell you more about that. And he signed on, and Darlene, of course, came on, and she was kind of the heart and soul of the thing, holding everybody together. We were a pretty wild and crazy group right back then, and we had a great group then. And I didn't really have any experience in journalism, and my first assignment was to write some story about a town hall meeting, and I messed it all up. And Peter Lawfer, Dave Toll was he was very fluid and flowery and a great storyteller. Peter Lawfer was a great newsman, and he can tell you more about that. He had a great career in journalism, and anyway, he looked at my story and he told me in 5 minutes how to fix it. And he just said, this goes here, and that's it, and you're done. And I went, okay. And I went back to my old Royal typewriter and I pounded it out, and he said, that's perfect. And so, and I'll tell you, whatever he said, it was exactly what I needed to hear at the time for that, you know. Whereas Dave Toll he did a lot of talking to me about how to fashion a story and bring life to it, and just wonderful stuff. And they were just great guys. I'm going to stop there for a minute. So we all settled into things for a couple of issues. We went about 3 issues, I think, and every 2 weeks with the news, and then there was kind of a big decision to be made of whether or not to seriously continue the Gold Hill News, or to just use it as something that we thought was a lot of fun, and to figure out what we were going to do next. So what happened was there was a big argument. I didn't really know much about that because I was just the Dayton Valley Bureau Chief, but there was a kind of a falling out between David and Peter and Chan, and some things about money, of course. That's what it always is. Peter can talk more about that. But anyway, Peter and Chan left the newspaper, and David told David Moore and I and Darlene decided to make a go of it, a serious go of it. And so we did. That's what we did. And we worked it for a few months. And in the beginning, Dave said, well, you know, you really need to have a camera if you're going to be a journalist. So I said, well, okay, you know, and I asked my dad, and he pulled out this old Agfa camera. It was a bellows camera that was his friend bought in Germany in the 40s and brought back to the States. And my dad said, this is a pretty good camera. And it was, the bellows came out, right? You unfolded it. The bellows came out. It shot a big negative, 2 1/4, 3 1/4. And you had to set the aperture and priority, and you had to cock the shutter to take a picture. And a roll of film took like 8 pictures. And, you know, about the time I figured out how to use it, we came out to Christmas time. And they started to try to knock down the church across the street from us, from my house. And Peter lived next door. And we went out in the street, and I had my camera with me, and we're looking at these guys, you know, with these bulldozers over at the Dayton church, and the sun was going down, and I didn't know, you know, I was hoping that the sun wouldn't get too dark so I could take a picture, but I did take a picture, and Peter was there, and there's the photo that appeared in the Christmas issue of the Gold Hill News, and the photo won Best News Photo in the state of Nevada for a rural publication that year, you know. So, and we actually, at the Nevada State Press Association convention, we won like 6 or 8 awards across the state. And I mean, it was just amazing for a small newspaper to do as well as we did. And the party was at the governor's mansion and stuff, and it was super exciting times. And I'm going to stop right there now. Okay, so we settled into a really nice routine with the paper, and we were based at that time at the mine building up in Gold Hill. It was a 2-story building, really nice, and we had an upstairs unit. I don't know how Dave finagled that we got to rent that place, but it was really nice up there. And so we would do our thing, and then we would go up there and we would produce the newspaper, you know, every couple of weeks. And we had a great staff at that time. We had Dave Moore was the Virginia City editor, and Dave, of course, was the publisher, and Darlene was the business manager. And we had Kenny Uos, which is our graphic artist guy, art director, I would say. And Gary Elam was our photographer, and he was great. And we went through a long period of time of pretty stable, but it worked out really well for us all for a long time. And I have to say that I really learned everything at the Gold Hill News, and you know, I came out, I had no formal training in journalism or photography, and I basically, because of the Gold Hill News, I was able to build a career, and I still do it. I just finished publishing a magazine that I do, and I make my living taking photos. So it's a beautiful thing. In fact, I'm using my Canon EOS R6 mirrorless camera video to shoot this. I just got it. It's a lot different than my Agfa cock the shutter camera, but it really, Dave Toll has such a huge space in my heart. He really changed my life, and I think he did a lot of us people. And kind of hard to talk about it, but it's true. It was something that we all hold in our hearts to this day as one of the most special times in our lives, the time that we worked on the Cold Hill News with Dave Toll. And I guess that's pretty much a wrap for me. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Bye.